This session, we're going to discuss accounts payable set up at the enterprise. So before we get into this, the one thing you want to understand is that the enterprise can have accounts payable set up that are managed at the enterprise or at the location. So we can do either or. Now we're going to actually do this session into two different parts. In this first part, what we're going to do is we're going to discuss the various ways to set up an account to be managed at the enterprise. So to help you understand what that means, managed at the enterprise, let's take a look at an enterprise payable account list versus a location. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of scrunch this down, and we're going to look at the enterprise on the left and location number 2 on the right. So when I go to accounting, here's my payables. I'm just going to pull up a complete list of my payables at the location. You'll notice at the location that some of these accounts have a little asterisk at the end of the name. It's kind of the giveaway or the tell to let you know that this is going to be managed at the enterprise. So if I take a look at CarQuest, for example, you'll see that there are some invoices and things like that in here. And as I go across the top of the screen, you'll see a lot of this is grayed out. See, these are all of the managing functions. So what that's telling you is that even though we're receiving invoices at the location and processing them to the payables, I can't really do anything with them. Can't pay them, can't purge them, can't do adjustments, can't do any edits or reconcile. Now I can take a look at an invoice such as a bill here. I can look at a basic transaction, but that's really as far as I can go. So managed at the enterprise means it's going to start at the location, but by the time it gets processed through, it's going to end up in one place, which is the enterprise. So here is where you're going to have all of your management functions. Let me open this up. See, now I start to see I can reconcile, edit, things like that. The other thing that you will see here at the enterprise, which you won't see at the location, is this column here called location. So this tells you exactly where this transaction came from. So if I go down and look at another one, for example, you see I have several transactions from location 2. Here I have a payment at the enterprise that I made, just right on down the line. So here's one from number 3. So managing at the enterprise means I'm going to have all of my features to edit, reconcile payments, adjustments, apply credits, purge, split at the enterprise, all in one single place. So how do these get set up? Let's get out of here. So in my enterprise setup, if I scroll down into accounting, you're going to see what we call payable accounts. I simply click on it. I hit search. This is going to be a listing of payable accounts. Now, typically when we set up a brand new user, we will import in a list of suppliers and set up the payables at the same time. And if you decide you want them all managed at the enterprise, we will automatically do that. So a typical account is going to look like this. I'm going to right click and do an edit here. It'll have an account name. The system will automatically put a number in. You can put in whatever account number you wish. Manage at enterprise. not at location. Okay. We'll set a base term in. You can actually pick whatever term you want to use and who the payee is. The other thing that we do is that location. In other words, what locations will this payable account be available to? What locations will this payable account be available to? So if I click on location, see here we're defaulting to all 3 locations. Now if I do not want it available at a specific location, I can certainly delete it. Okay. There are no associations at this point other than the original name. And we're going to talk about associations here in a little bit. Really and truly, the easiest way to set these up is, if you think about it, you're going to end up putting in a contact most of the time for a particular supplier. So if I come into the system and I go up to the contacts and I want to add a new supplier in, I can do that right in the enterprise. So we're going to do this version from the enterprise. So we're going to add contact. You would put in your name. Let's just say this is the auto parts house here. I'm going to go to details, accounting, and supplier. Okay. So if I want this auto parts house to be a supplier at my locations, I would click here, change settings, save it. And then I'm going to pick what type of a supplier. Am I going to buy parts from this supplier? Am I going to get sublets? Am I going to warranty out parts or labor? General would be expense items. And what locations is it going to be available at? So I can come here and select which location or locations. I can pick all of them. I can pick some of them, whichever ones you want. I hit OK. Now he's a supplier, and it'll automatically prompt you to set up the payable. So what I'm going to do is tell the system, enterprise manage. So that means all supplier invoices from all 3 of those locations are going to all automatically funnel to the one payable account at the enterprise. All I got to do is give it a term, verify which locations. There we go. There's my locations. I hit save. And now what that will do is that will actually be available at all 3 of my locations. There will be a supplier at all 3 locations and be set up with a payable account. That's the simplest and easiest way to do this. So let's go take a look at a location and see how it's going to look. We're going to close this up. So here I am at location 2. I'm going to go to my contacts. Go look for the parts house here. There it is. See, it's already copied it over to my location. If I left click, right click, and do an edit on it, go to details. Already set up as a supplier. Now I can change or remove while I'm here. And see, now it is a enterprise payable. And if you kind of notice down at the bottom left corner, see, it's telling you it's coming from the enterprise. Now when I go to my accounting at the location, and I pull it up, there it is, ready to go. And again, you see the asterisk, managed at the enterprise. That's the simplest and easiest way to do that. So now when I go back to my enterprise, let's kind of bring this back down. I'm going to reset and hit search. There's my payable account. So the second way you can do this is actually enter a supplier at a location by itself and still tell the system that they are going to be managed at the enterprise. In other words, I might have a supplier just at a single location, for example, that I use, but I do want to do all the accounting portion, which is the management of the payable at the enterprise itself. I don't want to have to go to the location to manage it. So let's go do that. So here I am at location 2. I want to add a new supplier. Maybe it's a tow company that I have tow vehicles into my shop. But again, I want to manage the payable at the enterprise. So I'm going to come over to my contacts. I'm going to go add, and let's just call them Prince Towing. Now under details, I'm going to go to supplier, and I'm going to tell the system, well, they're a supplier, and I sublet their tow. Hit OK. Now it's going to prompt you, set up a payable. So if I were to hit yes, it's going to force me to create a payable at the location. I don't want to do that. I want to manage this at the enterprise. So I do not want to do this. So all I want is to tell the system they're a supplier, but not set up a payable here. I'm going to save. Not going to set up a payable. So here I have a supplier at this one location. So the next step, once you have that entered, is to go back to your enterprise to create the payable account. Let's go back to the enterprise. So here I am back at the enterprise. I'm in my payables. Now, there's actually 2 different ways we can do this. We can create a standalone payable here and then associate it. I'm going to show you that a little bit later. So really, the easy way to do this, if I want to make it an enterprise payable, would be to go to the contacts. So we go to the contacts, we'll find Prince Towing. I'm going to select it, right click, and I'm going to do edit. You'll notice down here on the bottom of the contact card, see it's coming from location 2. Now, they're already set up as a supplier at the location. Now I need to create the payable. So I'm going to go to details, accounting, create payable, and I want to manage it at the enterprise. Set my terms, what location. Now again, if it's only going to be available for that one location, I can delete these other locations. I don't necessarily have to, but that's all it is. So if I say, well, it's only going to be for the one location, that's fine. I hit save. So now I have a supplier that I set up at a location only, but yet we're going to manage the enterprise payable. The third way that you can do this is through association. So let's talk about that. I happen to have a car dealership chain that I buy vehicles from. Now this Mazda dealer, let's take a look at it. This was entered at the enterprise. In other words, this contact card was entered at the enterprise. Okay. They are already set up as a supplier. But they do not have a payable account yet, which I don't want yet. This Ford dealer is set up the same way. Now this BMW dealer happens to be set up at location 2. And they're a supplier at location 2. So what happens is, even though these are 3 separate suppliers, I get one single statement for all 3. So when I go over to my setup, now I can create a payable account. And then I can associate those 3 dealers. So I'm going to go to Payable Accounts. If I hit search, you'll notice you see there is no payable account set up in here for them. So I'm going to add. So what this is called is a bare payable account. Now, if I wanted to create a whole nother contact record, yes, I can do it here and set up a payable. But I want to just make a bare payable, and I'm going to associate. So I create the payable account. We're going to give it a name. We'll just call this Reds Dealer Group. Give it a term. Locations. In other words, where is this going to be available? It's going to be available to all of my locations. I hit save. Once I save it in, now I'm going to right click and do an edit. I'm going to associate contact records. So now I just start looking up the 3 dealers. I'm going to go add. Again, see, it takes me straight back to the contacts. Select the BMW. Add again. Ford. And now the third one, the Mazda. See, now I have one single payable account to manage all 3 of these suppliers. So anytime it gets posted at the location, it will automatically go to this one payable account. So let's go see how this looks. So we're going to hit search to kind of refresh it again. So if I go into my accounting, and I just pull up all the payable accounts here. See, now I have Red's Dealer Group. And as those supplier invoices come in, it'll tell you which dealer and which location it's all coming from. If I go over to my location, let's go do that. So here I am at location 2. If I go to accounting, I look for Reds in the payable here. See, it says Reds Dealer Group. There's a little asterisk. Here's a supplier invoice that I've posted through from a work order. Now, when I go to the enterprise, let's kind of close this up a little bit here. Now you will see at Red's Dealer Group, there's the Ford dealer supplier invoice, and it came from that location. So as a bit of a review here, remember when I compare enterprise to location, if I come in here and pull up all of my payables, any payable that is coming from the enterprise will have an asterisk at the end, and the management tools at the top will be grayed out. And then when I'm at the enterprise, which is on the left side here, and I pull them up, you see now my management tools are lit up. Another way you'll tell is when I'm in the setup. So if I go to the setup, here I am at enterprise on the left side. I go to accounts payable. I hit search. Here's a listing of all enterprise payables. And when I'm in the location, go to accounts payable at the location. Again, the gray shaded background. Anything that's gray is coming from enterprise. Anything that is white is location only. So remember, if I want to set up a payable account that's managed at the enterprise, I can enter the contact, make them a supplier, and set up the payable right there as enterprise managed. I only got to do it one place, and it goes out automatically to all the locations you want it to. I can make a supplier at a location and then go back to the enterprise and set up the enterprise managed payable account. I can have multiple suppliers set up as contacts, and then in the enterprise setup, make a payable account and then associate them all, which is what we did with Reds. 3 different ways. In part 2, we're going to cover location setup.